All right, so the election results are in, and a lot of people are probably wondering what this means for their personal finances moving forward.
Yeah, it's definitely a time of, uncertainty for a lot of people.
Hmm.
But I think regardless of, who you voted for or how you feel about the results, this is really a time for everyone to kind of double down on, building a solid financial foundation.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to be digging into in this deep dive.
Yeah.
We have some super insightful source material from a Black American content creator who really breaks down not only the election results, but also what they mean for, the average person trying to build wealth.
Yeah, this creator's perspective is really valuable because they encourage us to think about, our own financial goals within the context of these larger economic and political shifts that are happening.
Right. So it's not just about reacting to the headlines, but it's about taking a proactive approach to wealth building. And this creator has a powerful message, a real call to action, urging all Americans to focus on building wealth, no matter who they voted for.
Absolutely. And they bring up a statistic that is pretty striking. They point out that Black Americans currently only control about 3% of the nation's wealth.
Wow. Yeah, that's a stark reminder of the disparities that exist.
Yeah, it really underscores the need to focus on this issue of wealth building
Yeah.
and, making sure that opportunities are available to everyone.
For sure. And I think, the thing that this creator does really well is they offer hope too.
Yeah.
They express optimism that the president will create favorable conditions for wealth building across all demographics.
That's an important point.
Yeah.
We need to be paying attention to what policies are implemented and
Yeah.
how they might impact different groups of people.
Exactly. So there's this balance between, personal responsibility and then also the role that the government and larger economic forces play.
Yeah.
And what I found really insightful was the emphasis on personal responsibility. This creator really stresses that we can't just sit back and wait for things to happen. We need to leverage the information and the resources that are available to us to take control of our own financial success.
Yeah, financial literacy is so important. It's about understanding the financial landscape, making informed decisions, knowing how to navigate the complexities of investments, savings, debt management, all of that.
It's about empowering ourselves to build a secure future no matter what's going on in the world around us.
Exactly. And it's interesting because the creator also talks about the importance of unity and collective progress.
Yeah, they don't just focus on individual action. They also call for, working together to create a better future for everyone.
It's about recognizing that we're all part of this larger economic ecosystem and our choices have an impact on others.
And they really get into the practical side of things too, like how to make smart financial decisions based on data and information.
Yeah, they actually share a really interesting tip about looking at publicly available economic data. Like really digging into those numbers and using that to inform your financial decision.
Yeah, so cool. I mean, it's like, don't just sit on the sidelines, get in the game, right?
Exactly.
Mm.
So many people, I think, feel intimidated by personal finance or they feel like it's this big mystery. But this creator reminds us that, knowledge is power.
Totally.
We have so much information available to us, and we can really use that to our advantage.
Yeah, and they actually recommend some specific resources for tracking economic indicators.
Yeah, and what I found really helpful was how they connected those indicators to real-world personal finance decisions.
Like, give me an example.
So, for instance, they talked about how, understanding inflation trends can really influence your investment strategy. If you see that inflation is rising, you might want to adjust your portfolio accordingly.
Right. It's all about being proactive and not just, letting things happen to you.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point that this creator makes. Regardless of who won the election, there are economic realities that exist, and we have to figure out how to navigate them.
For sure.
They even talk about the election results themselves and how they're a reflection of where the country is at.
Yeah, they were saying even if you don't agree with the outcome, it's still important to recognize that this is a democracy and we have to, work within that system.
And I think there's something to be said for, understanding the collective voice of the people,
Absolutely.
even if it's not the voice that you personally voted for.
Yeah, and this creator is all about, walking the walk. They talk about their own participation in the democratic process
Oh, that's cool.
and encouraging viewers to do the same, like really think about your choices and, move forward in a constructive way.
Yeah, I love that emphasis on moving forward.
Hmm.
Right? It's easy to get caught up in the emotions of an election, but ultimately we have to channel that energy into something productive.
Totally. And they even addressed, the potential for negativity and division post-election.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, hey, instead of bashing candidates or, getting into arguments online, let's focus on finding common ground.
Yeah, that's so important. I mean, at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want a thriving and prosperous nation.
Exactly. And they really drove home the point that building a more equitable future, requires us to work together,
Yeah.
bridge divides, and, find solutions that benefit everyone.
And they actually give some concrete examples of how to do that.
Oh, cool. Like what?
Well, they talk about things like supporting minority-owned
All
businesses
right.
and investing in community development initiatives.
Yeah, it's like putting your money where your mouth is, like
Yeah.
actually taking action.
Exactly. And they also talked about the importance of financial education and mentorship. Like,
Mm.
imagine if we all committed to sharing our financial knowledge with at least one other person.
Right.
That can make such a huge difference.
Yeah, like a ripple effect of financial empowerment.
Yeah.
I love that.
Hmm.
And, this deep dive has been so insightful. I think this creator's message is really powerful because they're realistic about the challenges, but they also give us hope, and they remind us that we have the power to shape our own futures.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think this deep dive has really highlighted those key themes of, personal responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
financial literacy, collective action, and how important those things are as we move forward.
Absolutely. So as you look at the next 4 years, what are some concrete steps that you can take to really take charge of your financial well-being and, contribute to a more equitable future for everyone?
Well, I think the first step is recognizing that we're not just passive bystanders.
Mm-hmm.
The future is something that we create.
Right.
So we need to take ownership of our financial well-being, educate ourselves, and be proactive in seeking out the resources that we need.
It's time to step onto the field and into the game.
Exactly.
I love that analogy, like stop being a spectator and become a
Yeah,
player.
yeah, it's time to take control.
Awesome. Well, this has been another fantastic deep dive. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And to all of you listening out there, remember, knowledge is power, so keep learning, keep growing, and keep building that brighter future.